Zum Sanje Tang Je Jing Rugan Jingor Jansu Chakda, Karin Zumba Manji Ba, Jezumbango Lama Dame, Shabje Dorjuma Mebala, Gora Do Kubecha, and Tashin Jabson Jiva. Dodziva Jembe, Tudam Jedo Jizo Zondo So. Nanda Zujum Serje Saje Din, Tenzin Bamir Langur Benze, Shiramni Den Name Jubenza, Tumjo Dengun Rola Janzelo. Rugam Jese Zong Barjimbo, Zambo Jube Juje Yengwan Tam, Jerry Abdu Jorjan Jose Zo, Ma Singe Jimmy Loju Zo. Partindo Jinjang Ragunjada Lama Garma Ba, Jingo Gunjan June, See you wonder, Tantorje Nanjurma, Kune Kunje Sepo Chujunji, Chandra Nanjurzi Jendu Dondra Midu Jijunzo, Yunde Sanji Gunda Nyamna Yang, Kare Sanji Lejan Lobe, Pangona Mezola Gujanzi, Dozunru Lona Jura. Namkatanyam Besimji Tamji Chetundo, Tujala, Mebayandava, Zoba Sanji, Goma Rumboji, Toraja, Tichido, Sambasaju, Jinjodo, Simjibar Sartap, Simbaran Sar, Kang Hibrazale, Tujirimba, Nampal, Yago. Kamaba Kuyan Chama Sumba Kejing Trupudani Jirang Jung Shabjin Zebe Chachi Chamber Manam Dini Chebar Chavala. Good afternoon and again. So we are continuing from the last Saturday's discussion, and today's third section. And so before listening, as I mentioned last time, I wanted to all of you to give a rise to the supreme motivation of Bodhicitta, which means that for the benefit of all sentient beings, and I'm going to listening to, reflect on, and meditate on teachings of genuine Dharma, so that I can achieve enlightenment. So that is very important begin, as I mentioned last time, examining our intention for the benefit of all sentient beings. I am going to listen to this teaching. So the topic is a continuation from last time, Mahamudra Aspiration prayer, which is composed by third Kamaba Rangjung Dorje, who is the both a scholar and realized, well-known scholar and realized master in not only in Kagyu tradition but also in every traditions of Tibetan Buddhism. So I have covered half part of the prayer in last two sections. So those last two sections are more on general teaching of Mahamudra. As you remember, we started with the precious human life and devotion and diligence and guru proper teaching and so on. And then we went on with how important to listen to the teaching and contemplate on these and so on. And I think here is more studying here, it's more detailed into actual practice, actual meditation. So if you look in page number 331 of Kajumana book, and the second last line, and I'm going to first read the translation. Nothing indicates this, saying it is this. And nothing negates this, saying it is not. Beyond the intellect, Dharma is not composed. May we realize the perfect ultimate truth. So this is the next stanza that we are going through. When it is say, there's nothing that you can say, it is this, or it is not this. So sounds a little confused, but if you think carefully and also remind things that we have discussed last time. For example, when we talk about the ground, path, and variation. So in those things, we are always talking about inseparabilities. The inseparability of relative truth and ultimate truth, which is the ground. Inseparability of accumulation of merit and accumulation of a path. Accumulation of the system as a path, and then inseparability of two kayas, that is Dharmakaya and Sambhoga kaya. So particularly when you look into the ground that we talk, inseparability of convention truth and ultimate truth, that's inseparable. That is projection of our confusion mind. So then we said, what is the mind? Mind itself is also not exist. Way it functions, not exist. Way it appears. So here when it says, we cannot say that this is. So we are talking here, it's actually the Mahamudra, the nature, the mind is clarity, luminous, and emptiness. So that is actually what the mind is. So although we describe in many different words like emptiness and appearance, inseparability of emptiness and appearances, or unrisen or unborn or unseen, also inseparability and union and so on. There are relative point of view, there are many words that we can use to describe the actual nature of our mind, but there is nothing that can really so there is no phenomena that can use as an example of the nature of mind that tells that Mahamudra, the nature of mind, is like this. So there's no phenomena that can compare with Mahamudra. So why? Because it's beyond the word, beyond expression, beyond examples. As I said earlier, although we can say luminous, clarity, emptiness, inseparability, and union, and all those words, they are basically words, but they cannot really describe. You know, for example, if let's say if you need to introduce a taste of candy to a blind, a deaf person, until he or she experienced the real taste, there is no way that you can introduce the taste of candy like this and like that. And similarly, the nature of mind, the recognition of true nature of our mind has to arise or has to understood or has to recognize by individual's experience. So that's why Buddha says, I cannot transfer my realization to you. And that's why he said, I cannot wash your negativities with my hand. This is something that we have to realize, we have to recognize by our own practice. Of course, based on proper instructions from the master, but then we have to, meditate by ourselves. Through that, we have to recognize and we have to understand. So, because of that reason, because of it is beyond what you call that word, the word they use, beyond intellect, Dharma is not a composed. Dharmata. So Dharmata, uncomposed Dharmata is beyond intellect. Means the word, expression, examples. But only has to recognize, has to understand. You cannot really prove that this is not like that or like this. It's beyond, the nature of the mind or nature of Mahamudra is beyond those expressions. So, there is a sentence in Bodhisattva Charya Avatara by Shantideva, and he said there's two truths, ultimate truth and relative truth. And ultimate truth, the relative truth, this is something that we can conceive by our intellectual expressions in word and can introduce and explain. By the ultimate truth, the dharmata, which is not composed, that is beyond our ordinary conception. So therefore, it is not something that can object with our intellect, mind. So, yanda Tenzin tani nipasho. Yes, may we realize the perfect truth. We have to understand intellectually that they are inseparable, luminous, clarity, beyond expressions, even beyond imaginable, Yet, we have to understand through the real truth. We have to understood from our inner experience, our practice. So that's why it says, may we realize. The realization, understanding and realization is two different things. So you can use these two different terminologies into two levels of the truth. Understanding is something that can achieve through word expression and examples and so on, but the realization is beyond that. Therefore, it can only understood or only realized through inner experiences. Just like the deaf person, when he or she eat the candy, Nobody has to tell him or her anything. He or she will understood or realize the taste of candy momentarily. Before putting into his or her mouth, no matter how many times, no matter how many ways you try to introduce, it's impossible to get exactly what you mean. So now I will, explain this verse in Tibetan. Takazanga judi paljawambo kamaba kuinchuma sumba keshi trubudani chabda rangjung durji chogi any zamnawe chaje chimbo midon chaje chimbo manan detox manja sheshuaki ani tabshi jeware tati dring kazanga zu chudin ni mun ro chale tati dring chudin suba de toyore ani tati kazang keni ma zu shuja jo tigi ani manam de dus montu ndu yuwa insan entringi nisi sawaji gozu ya de ke ya mare tidi ni kazang mara zo kareshi yoresena ani zoda 사지 친구 세시나야를 저거 친구 시나야를 람제 친구 시나야를 대가나 얘기지 남점 시나야를 우마스 시나야를 가레이나야 상황 알아는 저 남바 탐지 친구 산지 공방을 부제 토야 아니 갑송 걸어 동아지 잠좀 될래 타야 오다 동아다 대와 대야게 치에도 아니 냠슬래야기 아니 취지도스 자기가 다 될라 지체단 추냠니 가르쳐 지나양 지금 담보 잡으니 전에는 소수기 지를 좀 받아서 독세는 칼레 야로 고요와 배나 당하는 소식 상하도 지티고 나오라 아니 담보 잡으러 신기 당하나지 지금 로도 넘버 2 되니 문도日本 시내 람통 당하나지 이제 디지리아 상하기 냠네 되니 자주주 난주 라미주 세네도 소야日本 조고 요러와 냠린지 값이야 대가랑 지는 조고 요래라 대가나 인제 수수기다 로종 지르고 값이야 아니 독세야日本 조고 요래 배나 다다디 난주를 받아 도대과 생산 받아 오마바 되니 그리고 맞이를 받고 인신의 대지지도 지유세 소나지와 디숨도 가르세 버스나 제소서 넘버 산지 미추냥네 징 로병 징이 지기나 코라즘 받아서 지기 지를 독선의 게는 조고 그래마도 지겐자 담보된 이바 칸 강바 좀 마고와 숨바지와 칸을 좀줘야 되게 요 말에 스티디케스 중앙이나 소소 마사도야 그니가 여레스 되게 지 딱 만남지네 않고 담보 아니 요 담바라 차피야 내가 나 얘기 잠바 담자와 내가 나 얘기 자다더니 아니 가르세고래 도르티바데 제바시바 전에 도스만주고 여러와다 가장 많지야 아니 지당 지기랑 돼서 그 남자들도 가리임바도 가장 그만 독스 휴자버에 다 등지 조디 심니로 시네야도 다 셈시아디 지당 아주 뒤만한 데다가 찾으신 분만 쓰기요래 디지루 찾으신 세야기 신디 가리임 거 따투스 엔데시 자기요와 지당 가산디 특히 미마티기 나올라 가리슈르스나 여바 마이 자리 장마스 메바 마이 코데 군시 가르도 마이 소주 우말람 다들 심지 주니 도버쇼 세나스 투스 만남 자료를 티캅소 가르송고요스나 에네 셈시아티 여바야 마이 메바야 마이 에네 여메니가 탈렌데바티 에네 사동 아니 여바 사비차 메바 동비차 테니 손도 주고 사동 손도 주고 데라 네 생기네로 센 도스니 향이 여레스 히야 데네 손손 따진 같은 남지 같이 지기양 대담발라 메바 타니라 데네 강낭 대와다 강통 대와도 아니 지 여대와 데지를 삼당 여러와 그랑 이사마레 가르세나 타니 되양 따가랑 지 저라와 자 강심 망부지 통득이 여러 내내양 대지 소수기 심추르게 남도게 쫓다는 파 주야와 인자 민경 따유자마도 코라 아니 강 통만나지 강 고반나지 강 초반나지지 되는 군족구 몰라야 좁대바지 아니 야마레스는 두스 수구여래 다들 심지주니 또버쇼스 다 심지주니 시야데 가르세구라세나 ben 사제 진보 아니 심지네로 라인 외서와 두마세바 안테가 알아서 남주다 아직 다니가 나니 나와도 동바 되니 나동 송주 제와 매바 내가 나이게 된다바 렌지 지바 대화 진부세는 망보지 다니가 증망부 희우지 배주 땅이 여래데 에나양 거랑 운이 비지 내가 기다 셈세야디 그래서 다니게 직대서 배주 땅에 가르치 전에 시에나야 당운은 데레세야게 배 준세들이 잔이야 말이스 대가리에서나 고라지 동반이라와 동반이 되는 타탑에다 잡아 주변 타탑에다 잡아 동반이 선지라지 외사와 세운들 다지 딘데요아레에서는 배야는 돈토비아들이 게야 말이스 내가 얘기단 딘데 말다서는 양지 배나 기타 도마 따바다 치바 로와다 모아세니도서 타기도 말에서는 야투야에 요 말에스 그 가레에서는 론데 사제 전부 세운들 되는 지금 로에 열라 단 대단 디로 말하는 로세는 심로 싱글 열라 대단 디레서는 야투야 되는 요 말에스 되진자 론데 사제 전부 세송도와 다배나 아주 되는 자세히 무시와라기 준주고 나오는 준주 시럽 내고 나는 가르쳐 오면서나 군족단은 된다 된다는 데만 있어도 된다 로이 주요 메인 로는 군족이 말해 주요서 오늘 뜻이 가르쳐서는 된다면 된바디 아니 로이를 샤르마 로이를 샤르마 로이를 주바데 말에 소수기 생기 단 대단 된다고지 요아래에서는 즉 야투야들이 개요 말이지. 당연한 지금 군주도 난대야겠다. 즉 시지금을 보듯이 단체라 아니 책당 명당 타니에다 빼다 저그 돈이 되던데라고 요아래에서는 야투고 요아래는 된 담백에 내려오디라 네 로이어도 주고 말이지. 된다고 해주요 메인소도 다 되던다 지가 자기요 가서는디 론데스 차제진 것이야. 그 대답이 신진내로 라인 외사와 대시기여와 그대로의 주요 말에스. 양다 된진 타는 이걸 쇼스. 다 양다의 그대 로렌 대바. 되니 디단 디레 세네더니 야야 아네 펜션을 잡아. 아니 디단 디 말에스는 타기도 가야게 되니 쭉 다 잡아인 그 론데 차제진 것이 내로 양다바데 또버쇼 세네 땅만한 제남도와 다들 나오라 제당디 롱 망부지 두세네 장난기 열에 배는 파벌루르기 가르송이었으네 가자 찌영 매배나 내는 찌영 먹고 되는 거거를 제도 시끌바 되는 추지 다 정도와 대지도 딱고 즉 된담바 이 내로 된담바 라니 오서 두마세바 심리 내로텔라 단 대단대라고 요 말에서는 가트야 요 말에서 타기도 데레스는 야트야 요 말에서 가와당 야바도 참하게 탈렌데로 와래 디딘두 가와당 야바딘이 개꾸지 책임네스 지디 앞에나 가는 것이 강도 바탐지는 내양 대담도도 소마라고 들려요 롱 어때나 인도 드니 들어가는 게 배나 줄라마 드니 제서 사방건 부기 손남베게 아니 특별히 줄라마 되기 나로라양 데사자기양이 야바사와 중세미 야단이 야다다 야단 동네 넘버 토르 세운디 도다지 바리도 다다기 사지점 나올라 지 셈생이디 디인스는 저야메바 디민스는 가야 메베게 제니로 라지 우사와 두마세바 데니 따따치진 탈을 저르게 데니 셈 차지친비기 셈제네로스야디 데르타 줄라만난 송아디 지바지기아리도 데르사자지야미스나 the Maris and Nipapu, you at the side, you at the Kekuji Yomaris, and they attack it in the race and the Yapar Sawaya, Junze Yomaris, then Yanda, Nila, Nelo Yandaba, Nila, Yandaba, that's it and travel 20 Tena, Karentungur, Yanda with Nelo Tungur. Yanda with Nelo, Gasha, Panson, the Jarek and Nelo, Tungu with Capsule. And number of drogeries, Torsi, Caristo drogeries, and it Jimmy Pinchimata drogeries, dancing Pinchimata drogeries, comes from Koala drogeries. I have which initiative comes from Koala Domagiato Dele, Troyala Carici, Sentinelo, Rain, Wosara, Dumasevati, Togo, Tes Toyala, Susan Yamu, Tony Togo, and Tatuch del Sondo. So the next one is it's in page number 332. Nor realize this, we circle in the ocean of samsara. If this is realized, Buddha is not elsewhere. So we just explained what is the mind, what is nature of mind, what is the Mahamudra. So if we don't realize this Mahamudra, or the name doesn't really matter. You can call it Mahamudra, Madhyamika, Mahati. There are many different terminologies. But there are none of the word can describe exactly the meaning of either Mahamudra or Madhyamika or Dzogchen. So however, we just explained what is the nature of mind. So it says, if you realize this, if you don't nor realize this, realize through experience, we circle in ocean of samsara. So basically, until we realize this nature, we are going to circling in this samsara, where there are lots of suffering, lots of negative karma as a result, lots of pain and suffering, circling, endless circle over and over and over. So that's why, when you look into 12 link of interdependent origination, so basically that is the circle of samsara, where it starts from the ignorance, and then from the first one is ignorance, and then formation and name and form, and then consciousness and so on. This is how the samsara forms, starting with the ignorance. So ignorance is the biggest obstacle or destruction to realize the true nature, the nature of mind, which is beyond word, beyond examples, beyond expressions. So because of that ignorance, we are completely in the dark. If there is no light in a room, no windows, so then you are trying to get out in a huge dark room with no light, no windows. 15,000 square meter of dark room, and you're trying to get out. No light, no phones, no window, you're trying to get out. out. Do you think when there's no signs, no exit signs or anything, you are going to circle in, inside over and over and over. So when we don't realize the true nature of our mind, which is completely, blocked or covered by that ignorance, the samsara has no end. It's like a huge ocean, it's ocean. Always in the Buddhist teaching, the masters use ocean as the example of samsara. Ocean is so big, so vast, and so deep. It is so difficult to get out. Once you're drawn into the ocean, getting out is almost impossible. So samsara is just like that. But then the next sentence, it says, if this is realized, Buddha is nowhere else. If you realize your own true nature by your own practice, you practice that based on proper instructions and follow all the right instructions that you receive from your master. So then the Buddha is nowhere else, which means you're already enlightened. You don't have to go somewhere else to find a Buddha, because you yourself is already enlightened. So the reason why is when we say we enlightened, it's not something that we did not have before, and when you realize that true nature and you are gaining something, it's not like that, I think. We do have that basic, maybe it would be a wrong word to call a basic, the potential. Potential itself is already enlightened. It's enlightened. Not only you see it, but it well, accomplished, enlightened. That is already within us. But because of these obscurations, and we don't see it. Once we see it, we realize, last time I was using the example of diamond being underneath your basement. So when you learn that you have a diamond, you are already rich. So similarly, diamond of essence, of nature, of your mind, you are already enlightened. So if you realize, enlightenment is nowhere else but right here. So which means every individual have the Buddha enlightened potential, enlightened seed. Once we manage to purify our ignorance that covers wisdom to see our true nature, we are enlightened. So the next word, it says, everything is this. There's nothing that is not this. Okay, everything is this. Everything is what? Everything is, if you realize your true nature, you are enlightened. If you do not realize your true nature, you are samsara and will continue in samsara until you realize this true nature. So everything is this. The me kangya me. There is nothing that is not this. Means there is nothing that is different from what is just explained. The realization of true nature is enlightened. Not realization of true nature is samsara. So there is nothing that is not what just said here. So therefore, the next word, may we know the dharmata, exposing the all bases. You know what is the all bases? Kuishi, that is the mind. That is the nature of a mind, which is both source of samsara and enlightenment. So in order to achieve enlightenment, in order to free from suffering, in order to accomplish qualities, so we have to know this truth. So truth of dharmata. This is what we have to understand, recognize. Tadi tsiki nipa de la karasong do senan deni matong koro jansong koro deni tona sanji siena me tamje deni dame kaya me chuni kui jen tsang riba shos tadi chuni kui jen tsang se songya di ta kui je ani rikam dewar shi ku nyingbo semje nerok ranghin usawa rawa lenji ki bi yishi siya di 아니 소소기 뉴왕 토니 또웨이나 스토웨이나 세나 냠스 뉴나 아니 타 디니 마토 코르자 좀 코르스 소소 제캄 데와시 비인보 데니 소소기 줄레 예와 아니 예와티 아니 예와 하마오 아니 메발레 예바렌진 데니 타바다 치베겐 탈롱 로와 Jewa mebala jewaranzin, gaba mebala gawaranzin. Tene nawa da tomba tade dan tong. Tene chana ani kowa la tayo mares. Kamsun kowa de pene jansu chimbu nanshi res. Kamsun kowa ki jansu dele ani simji nelo ranjin wesawa duma cheba dewarshibu nyingbu tiye ani soso bichik laman duni dāngā shū, te sūsū ñamsū lāng nā mātō pārtā lā kōwa lā nē kī rēs. Kōrā jāngsōng kōrā, dīnī tō nā sāñjī jī nā mē. Tā sūsū gī chik tātā shūpa nā jī, anī gēwa chī nī gundō nī ñamsū lāng tāng tō tsā mā dāngā shū, te kī tō tā tā sūsū yā kō sāng, tēnī sūsū gōm, anī ñuwa kī tō nī yā kō jī ngōng chū yō na, anī sāñjī jī gōmbā tō, sēyā jī lō yīmbā lā, tsē nā rōyā yō mā rēs. Rokoya yo mares karsene susu simji nelokti kaza tambo shibanayi ene sanji res rekam dewa shibu nimbo o tege nelokte tona nangjuwa yiki namshi mato tuina korwa le nimu kunji yedas kaza song song tega na ye res ta te toba yena ene sanji ji kompanse yaki los drubyata tene yo mares tamjin din deme kaya means tene tamjin di yins simji nelo rangi usawa teni lenji ki bi yishi te soso ka ngontu nyungwa ka toni ngontu na ani sanji ji kompan toya sanji ji kompan se ne los taji mewa ani de ngon manchu jisi ngon manchu pa tesi do kamsum korwa nangla ani korje yinba tamjin di yins tele yindu juba kekoji yoma tele hindu chuba keko jindashi chaya yo mares. Tamche nengan digi kumsunduki yo res. Simji nelo rajin wesawa ti tona ani sanji komba tobe ima madona kola chaya ima ti. Dini kuijin sang. Tati nenga di reba shos dini kuijin kan sang kuijin nenga chingati hakor shochi isin tu manam jelando. So the next sentence is appearances are mind, emptiness is also mind. Realization is mind, delusion is our own mind too. Risen, it is mind. Stopped, it is also mind. Maybe several all misconceptions in the mind. So again, it is still talking about the mind. So we said, what was the all bases? You know. So that is the mind, that is the Buddha nature, that is the luminous, that is the clarity. So now, when we talk about appearances and emptiness, so where are those appearances coming from? Appearances are coming from the mind. Because last time we said all those appearances, form, sound, smell, taste, and every form that are object of our five senses are nothing but projection of our mind. Projection of our confused mind. It's not a projection of our realized mind. It is a projection of our confused mind. Yet the emptiness is also coming from the mind. So when it says emptiness is coming from mind, which means the mind itself is also emptiness. You know, that's why if you look in the Heart Sutra, Buddha says, form is emptiness, emptiness is a form. Form is not a different from emptiness, and emptiness is not a different from form. And then you use the same logic to the form. Sound, smell, taste, every phenomena. So here, and same thing, appearances are mind, and emptiness is mind. So, therefore, you know, everything in this, this universe, let's say, form and emptiness, appearance and emptiness. We talk so much on this, how they are inseparable. What is the emptiness part? What is the appearances part? We already discussed with all those things. Because of appearances and emptiness, all not different from the mind, or not different from mental projections, the realization is also coming from the mind. Because when you realized, what you realize is the emptiness and appearances, the inseparable of emptiness and appearances, which is the luminous and the clarity, inseparability. So the realization, the realization is also the mind. Then of course the confusion or delusion is our own mind too. So basically everything is a mind, all coming from mind. Appearances are coming from mind, emptiness is coming from mind. And realization is coming from mind, and likewise delusion is coming from mind. And then arisen and stopped are coming from mind. Which means, you know, everything, every phenomena has a beginning and end. You arise at the beginning, then stop at the end. So when you're arising at the beginning is also coming from the mind, and ending at the end, stopping at the end is also coming from the mind. So because of that, now we have to analyze or examining on mind, nowhere else. Because everything else is coming from mind. So now you have to go directly to the mind. Try to understand from the bottom. Once you understand and once you realize there, then everywhere else, it's easy. Tadi niba dela nang sem la tong yang sem yin de to jang sem la chor jang rang sem ji jang sem na ga jang sem yin be zhong do tam ji sem la chu ba shu se song duo. Tadi se du ni ka zang shu ba na yin re ni chu tam ji chang ma chu nam tam ji sem ji nam pur de sem ji mu dong dong xiang mang ga jie yang na de le par ta ni ji za chu ba shu song ba de ga re. Tati chunam tamji semjit namchur seungdu yindang gandhi dhati chani chagi yorasena bena masu chu tamji seungdu nangwa ta tongba nangdong songjo ani kowa le chur ani kowa le tarne ani to rawa chu tamji nero to teka na yingi ji jewa nepa ngawa tati zo mangbuji yorwa tazu tsama semla teni chungu yores, nawa teyang semje chunang teni chungu re. Ani jika tumba ni teyang semres. Teka na yingi jik chu tamchi je nero yang dawa to ne, teni taba da tamchi jimbo gongpang toya teyang rangi semres, rang sem. Ne kazan shiba na yi jiba re, pena semji mazu dila jigewa rana namda omen chimbu shing sina omen sina sanji ji shing kamrowa rana namda omen chimbu shing siyondu ta sosu ge sem nambar takwa la kyari yogo omen gi shing de re ma to ji omen gi shing sidu tada ngaran so yosan dele ni ji melatan pakse tenzin drone any omen ji shin lebri seya tende yamaro tiga na yin ji ji ngaran so tekwa chimbu ge ani doju nanga somba na kitena bena nyawa yeda tendo tasu chamayang ina senetini chungares te pese go song yare jese chimbu shiwa la gi juju nanga jekse sa ji sui ji mezo te da jele so mozo te da jele chung te da tamjene dixin ba tu be song dixin imatu beso dipusem de chungjore ma to yang de ni tat timi de zo benen do tong chan yi shu de na mi pa yang de zang mo se na ji dan ji te bo men ba de zo xie dang yore de ma so te bo chi bi de ke le gi ya ma ro timi de zo ta di sa wo ni ma pa che tong chan yi shu zhe na ani nya wa na me yore de ti ni ya nya wa ta ji chang ni jie de zhang ni jie de zo yore se ne ku zu xie gi yore de na te bo chi bo ge jaksa sahi suisi mozo deda jele chung dena tamjene dixin ba tube so somdu tezo tsama semli chunang la tene chung yor sem ma dawa la tene nyawa yeda tondro la soba chung yor sem dawa la tene ene chik tabi ki shinkam ramyan tezo shari yor es tene indu nawa yang sem le so tongba yang sem toba yang sem chuba yang sem jenga yongsu doba de tsama semli tene chung yor inzang dondo chesa de kawa le chung gudu sila sem le chung yor semle dondo chiri gari chiyo gogo yoba sem te tsaman hondeji kyu yongsu zoba te teni juhongi ye de ya sem yinba eni sem te nelo toona sanji ji gompang togo yoba eni sem je nelo rangi usawa nduma seba hlunji juba te mato na eni kapsom koro de nene tar togo mewa tege la dondo yang tawa chiyo shio jesi jizu mara reba ki nga peche nanjur reba ye tseke santi gondong come to Banyam, now I'm on such a thing with Yanton, soon about. Did you do? Got a serious, Singing Nero, Teconanina, any Yambarjan, Gong Capso, any Yamna, Gong Yamna to the Latin, and Demo, Carena and Tumudus, and it Tosibit Simon and Manaranyaka, you don't talk about some shadow and Tommy Biorba. Next sentence, lose it or come to Malaysia, Taman do the long magic, around Joshi Besem, not slip by the meditation that is conceptual effort, not stirred by the wind of ordinary distractions. May we know how to rest naturally and freely, not altering. May we be skilled in and sustain the practice of the mind. So now here we are talking about the meditation itself. So now we know that everything is coming from mind, and mind is something that we have to analyze. We have to discover. So how do we have to do that? Is through the meditation. The meditation on Mahamudra. So when we do meditation, there are, of course, the distractions. Okay? There are obstacles. So when we do meditation, basically what we have to do is we have to rest on nature of our own mind, unfabricated nature of the mind. You know, if you fabricate and made up this and that for your meditation, and then your meditation won't go the way it's supposed to. You know, that's why it says Salit, you know, by the meditation, that is conceptual effort, you know. I'm supposed to do this and supposed to do that. You don't need conceptual effort to do meditation. Meditation is, you know, idea of meditation is, of course, we know that meditation have different levels. From the shamatha meditation, which is supposed to be beginner, and then to the highest level of the Tantra tradition. For example, 6 yogas of Narapa, which are the dissolution stage, the highest stage of the Mahamudra practice. There are different levels of the meditation. But here in Mahamudra, the meditation, we have to rest on unfabricated mind. The naturally and freely, we have to know how to rest on the nature freely, without any distractions. So mainly the distractions arising from, you know, conceptual effort and thinking that I may have to do this, I may have to do that. Because when you say rest naturally, freely, and people don't believe because it seems too easy. Although it seems too easy at the beginning, but when we actually do meditation, it's not easy. Resting naturally, freely, is something that we have never done before. So when we say, in order to achieve enlightenment, you have to do meditation, people have an idea always that you have to, sit with a very special postures, and then you have a very special conceptual effort that you have to apply into your meditation, which is actually not right. You have to know how to rest naturally. We have in our lineage prayer, Mahamudra lineage prayer says, Yimi Gomch Muje. Awareness is the meditation. Awareness is the body of meditation. You just have to rest naturally, freely with awareness and mindfulness. And yet, when we rest our mind, we as an ordinary sentient being, we have all kind of thoughts, negative thought that constantly, coming and going through our mind. They are like a wind, Our mind is like an ocean. So when there is no waves, an ocean stays. And similarly, if there is no ordinary thought or the conceptual effort, if you live naturally, freely, it stays in calm like an ocean. Means the unfabricated and fresh, rest on unfabricated and fresh, a vivid, a mind. Maybe be skilled in sustain the practice of mind. So basically, once you are able to free from conceptual effort and ordinary, ordinary distractions, those thoughts, ordinary thoughts. In our meditation we says, don't bring the things that happened in the past. Don't remind. Don't bring the plans and things that are going to happen in the future. Rest naturally on the nowness, the state of nowness. The present, the moment, the present moment, without ordinary distractions and conceptual effort. Tadi lujeto gomdi maleji taman kinse longu maju nyuma ramjo hibesen donya neke hijuma sho stata wenga zo sim siate kareimba. Tini nawa tatamje tsama semne songa imba tomba ya sem imba jewa tanga pa toba de tuba tsama semne tini songa re so songa. Tadi yinsa ani semje nelo ti togo yore. Semje nelo toya la kareche go yore sina gom go yore. Saje chimbo gom. 사제 뭐 고미하나 가르쳐 고서 루제 쪽으로 공좀 말해스. 대세운도 심용마 베토라 아니 야고 요래. 상가서 공자도 남진 공자 세도 고치당 공라 다시네니 제네 아니 상아 라미기 다가나 jingi 차제 쳔부게 다 나로추도 그래서 뭐 무시 진 로던 로야 요래 이내양 아무네 검세한테 가르르세나 심 마주가 들어가는 그 야투고 이거래스 아니 데르직 남도 루지에 돌아서나 다 소소가 로이 진 디고는 디로그 마린 디제는 디기는 디리고는 디토고는 디마고 그래서 다음부터 속주만 보시 지 땅에 고나 아니 hle 참고 이거래스 속주들이 짠에 땅고 말했어 그 심코라마를 시작 다가는 거 샤샤로 심깔이 샤고 다 대샤네 대도 쓰는 조 준경은 로고 이거래스 라와스 다 르르 시야야와라 근데 좀 많이 왔나 당 세도 네 추나고 집배나 깝집이나 두시야와이나 녀야나 코데 부부 땅야나 가리여바 하고 요나 초코랑 그 모드 배 싸라 당와 이나야 다이네 저도 두 시야야나 난 공부죠 자니 맞아 샤기도 초코랑 그 라지 가리여바 찾아 또 샤로도 대나고 아니 공자스도 양지 루지에 또 공지 말해자 타마른 돈을 롱게 마이 타마른 돈을 롱게 단남도 라문라지 가장 아주 송차지만 대비지마 좀 마음방은 뇌마소스야지 송되기요 된다고 단남도 남 타마른 돈을 남도 지그래요 또와 다가나 얘기 자고 당 단남도라 말하지 연구요 다 저거 롱게 파티에 제마송 심들을 이제 양을 값을 뜻으로 발맞춰 가지고 그래서 심들 양에 계신 좀 쉬워 다 배나 저긴 살아하기 가르쳐오면서는 강은 지마이는 대양 통 똑바종은 탐제 대양대 대리기마 수전 누마이 송도 다 곰세야데 아니 론데 아니 지바다 자와 그게 지바 종소나 땅이 거래스 아니 독세는 땅은 아니 탐시 셈디 대고 흘러보 자기여래스 대리기마 수전 누마이서 대래 인도 주고 그 곰세야자 자진부지 수직이 키우야라고 말해스 제가 나지 다다디 링레 페마도 얘기 가르송 이르시나 마주 소마리야 똑같잘 주주시장 양신잘 남도 제마탐지 용도는 다른 양을 쇼시 내저봐 송도 되지 심코라라고 말을 이제 야토고 요래서는 다 검장이 지금 대백에 기부담만 남바기야 다가랑 송고요래 되지 우지랑 검세야도 소소 심 그를 진이 자야들이도 셈들은 담을 찍잖아 고 고미하다 셈 내야라 백안에 가고 요해서래 되지 셈들을 보시하고 그래 스페나 누가 군에 그 가르세는 세나 롱도시지 라나 자르데 진니시지 말라 체만장 라투 그제지 칼라 탐존신 송도 뜻이 가르세르스나 다셈 세가들 샤샤나 네 곰페야 후차그레스 벨나 당아서 별을 롱이와 롱도 가되는 이제 자통바도 자르들이 가는 루고요 왜냐면 아주 다다 생기 예바들 자다 정고 장고들 루고는 간에 가고 요래 내는 롱코랑 되게 가는 거야 검소인데 빼답되고요 지냐시죠 말라 체만 잠스도 빨리 지우도 소소 냐사게 참 참아도 좀 하고 저 룸에 되게 장소여와 다지당 참아시 체마디 아주 밀그 샤다 데리를 통나 코피 폭는 담으라지는 대우처리 영어라와 얘네 코 참아게 재미게 창조는 냐당 야고 희소나 지우 코란소 참아게 창대 빼장고 잡으려 내가데 희마시도 두레스 내가 나이 되니 생곰시제 내들 르면 대성도와 가르세그스 곰시니 그 메라 되니 곰야고 자신이 그 곰치 뜻을라 야슈 대슈게 내 곰야슈게 내 가르세는 샘르드 자야들 샘르드 자시나 곰야고 차기요 샘르드 자마시나 곰야고 차기요 말에 소야데 다 딘지르시. So next one is Taratopu Balabra Sarishes. May the subtle and coarse waves of thought be naturally calm. May the river of mind, unmoving, come to natural rest, free from the pollution stains of a torpor and dullness. May the ocean of shamatha be unmovingly stable. So here we are talking about shamatha meditation. So shamatha meditation is actually the beginners. When we start to do meditation, usually we start with the shamatha meditation, and then the next level is usually vipassana meditation. So the shamatha meditation is of course the part of Mahamudra meditation. So here again it says, may the subtle and coarse wave of thought be naturally calm. So here the shamatha meditation, the example of shamatha meditation is a calm, the ocean that is unmoving ocean. Okay, is the best shamatha meditation. So if there's no wind that create the waves, so then the river continuously flows in the ocean, and ocean will remain calm. So similarly, when we do meditation, if our mind is not polluted by the wave of our thought, taratop, subtle and coarse, subtle and coarse waves of thought, all kind of thought that usually we have all the time and coming and going. Somehow we have to manage to make them come down so that our meditation will be calm like an ocean. Tadi yang jibadau thara tobo wala pransa shiyo misinji chuangangi ne semuk yo pertama tantra shine jatuh meo temper show so tadi shine ma shine komya jiwa namju ani ta gomja bu kaps shine se komya yo tadi shine ya bu chana lamong gom te tini ya be tini samha ki ta jezo ki nyamne jirem ta zorem de zola dre yorwa tadi tambo shine se ateri do shine de kadiji gongu yo sena pena dil japsor pesha do shine ya bo de jansu chimbola pesha yer ani jansu chimbo de ya bo toks ne ala kare gogu yo sena long yu long mares kesi long shok chimbo de yo ne ani balab le gro chur balab chimbo de le gre ne balab le na jansu chimbo de ani ko shide man net uya marwa tena yin maran so ke simti jamso da ready yore sim koran ngo da jamso de jibo jikyang le ko ting sabo tomba jachembo Yinayang Tangara to be Tara and Nambo Mambo Jigda. Any Simwata, Moba, Tazuki, Moba, Simwata, Moba, Tazuki, any chip to do. And simply a which native Yamaris. Tatinayala, Taraga, Bena, Namdo Bear, Rapa, Namdo Tawaine, Namdo Rapaine, Namdo is among which you live on, and so go on a party channel. The Gana Ying smokes and a sempa magic simwa, sending each or a general Muba. The Tiggeriti Leona, young Gomia with Chalmaris, Hine Gomdia with Chalmaris. Did you do? Teni Taraga Toba the Zoyan me, and you Simata Moba the Zoyan me, and now it's empty. Yao, Chachas, Gomra Chachas. Jidang di Namdo the Zoyana, Kotamba Semi Sumur, Temsaya Sem the Tenguar. Robert Yezumala Sumur, that it's getting my Taba Tinkim to mother, Sim, see the Johnson Rowers, Sim, see the Namha Rowers, Sim, see the Joa Rowers. Pena Johnson Rowers, Johnson Bala Yungu, Bala the Johnson the Yungu, Tama Johnson the Temple. The Gana Ying Maran, Sim, Namdo Tian, Tama Sim to you, Tama Sem the Temple. The Gana Ying Sim singing the Namha Rowers, Namha Tumba, Yamba, Jachimburit, in a young, then the changes of Tambo Namkani Jungu Yore. In a young Namkani Temple. The Gana Ying Sim singing the Jawachimbo Town Rowers. Dachimbo thinks about this. Jawut is let in the Zing Nasa to the Giogu, the Tamara will temple years. The Gana Ying is simply not all Seati, the Yakuji Samu Tamuna, simply lost your number of the Mundua. Condela to Tamarkin Nato Sihiana, somewhat the Mubas, Kanda, Kona Sim Koran Chip name, Maneta, Madaki Chal, Trotia, Jimado, Nando singing the Duaki, the better Bangoya Jitan. And Sims Yaji Yaji the ten Yargoya, the Gayamares, Nato Tian, Kona Sim True Goro. Tiny and Razu Gomja with Caps of Karichikorosm, Nato Matroachico. Namto Matrova Chiala, Namto Zenka Chia Yamaris, Zembo Wami Wuton, Namto Katvia Yamar, Namto Jikan and Yilegri, Jukan and Yishilegri, Japan, Tonrachi Legris, Tindu, Semkora, Rawap Sushana, and Namto Rajim Mevachar. And the same Soma, the Garanga Gankora, Majuba, Numa Gagan, Yagores. Machu take out a job of Gomchin, Gonzalota Towers in Europe. Namdom or Chukusumai, Jemai, Jane Tower, Mangaro, Pancha Gomchin, Conde Tours in Europe, so Tenajan. Namdom or Chus. The city car service, Namdo Seatia, Mokos, Mo, Simple Chipachicans, Timo Chujucores, Cosimile Yungu, Tamian Simple Tinguer, Simple Los Juvenamdo Seati, Yard, married. And Gomja Gabson Namdo Taratas and Tron, Gomla Party Cherry, they did the Zomantoya Tapila Kanchi version, Sim Flute Shackles. Sim Gomshi Ned, Luna Day, Sondwa. Make Sematamchi young born and that in Yamash Ninja Pass, Sondwa. That the age in a bongo is there. They didn't send. Nesia Tilata, Sem Susuki sent to Shao Nero Magina, and then as well as Sene by Tabu, Seneala, and the Tabdam that the J, they at the young Kachakisonsha. So the next sentence is Tarmi Simaya and Tebis doing the Gigan shows. When looking again and again at the mind, which has nothing to look at, nothing to see, is vividly seen as it is. That is the resolution of doubts about what it is and is not. Looking at the mind, there is no mind. It is empty of a nature. Oh no, actually I went too far. nothing to see. That is the resolution of doubt about what it is and is not. Without delusion, may we recognize our own nature. So again, what is our mind? Mind is emptiness. Okay, it's a clarity. It is beyond word, beyond expression, beyond examples. So if our mind is such like that, beyond all those, how can you look at mind? And the relative point of view, we can look at our mind because we are using words, expressions, examples to explain the unborn mind, lumina, clarity, inseparable of appearances and emptiness, and we can use all kind of words. But reality or ultimate point of view, it's beyond that. So therefore, ultimate point of view, you can't even look at mind because it's beyond that. So when you look again and again on such a thing, what you see is nothing. Seeing nothing is what you're supposed to see. Do you understand? Seeing nothing is what you're supposed to see. When you look on something that cannot look, and seeing nothing is something that you're supposed to see. There's no way to look at the mind, okay? Yet, relatively we look again and again, but what we see is nothing to see. Nothing to see is vividly seen as it is. You are seeing, what you are seeing is nothing. That is what you're supposed to see. So that is what you have to come to a conclusion, that basically the nature of mind is beyond all these expressions and word. So there's nothing to look. But relative point of view, when you look at, you don't see anything. That is what you're supposed to see. Not seeing is the best of seeing, it says. Some of the great Mahamudra yogis says, not seeing is the best seeing, which means you seeing the true nature that is nothing to see. So in order to see that, we have to be free from confusions. This is the resolution of doubts about what is and what is not. Okay, without delusion, may we recognize our own nature, which is beyond word, expression, logics, examination, and everything. Example, all those. That is the true nature. This is what we're supposed to see. That dila tarmi semna yayan te petsin tumi ji yin la to yimi to te to chuba ne tumi rangi shiba sho sondwa. Tarmi sims, ta chidang sims ya te la ko Satan sunju. Tini lenjik chiba. Tedici da con Tumias che io amare, semplicemente Rahi usa Dumasi, Luigi Tubadella, Tumias che io amare. Tumia meundu til Tamias che io amare, Tamis, Tazidan Trawa. Yinayan Kunzop Zamdo, and it took Steva Yinas, Kunzop Zamdo, Yayan Tebatses. Ta Karen Tunguyoresena. 통장 통지의 자와 대 통구여라와 통장 통지의 자와세도 개코진 통양 매와 개코진 통양 매와 또내로 라이 우사와텔 통무야스 개여마로 통무야 매우도 때로 땅무야 여마로 담이서는 양이 되지 통미통 통좀 매와된 통그레스 통좀 매와된 통나 아니 임바다 민베트라 대종 대장로 대종 타추로 그랬어. 아니 생기네로 라이 우사와 저와 아니 사당 송주 히 동바 되니 라이 사와 흘린주 줘봐 누마 줘봐 대다 내로 양다와 동야대 대통이요. 얘는 대는 대단 대리 세는 때문에 되지 아마리스. 이메토가 대조 주원 주민 랑랑이 시바시오. 랑 소소랑 위시. 되게 내로 가래기 받은 두고요 알아봐. 만tro가 도니 소소랑 위시 되게 소소랑 이시 주요 좀 자위하는 찬사로 소반하기. 소소랑 위시 딱고 내로 타투가 내로 개코나니 되게 가래 두고요에서 되게 내로 두고요. 추범에 다 대용을 쇼스 주민랑 거랑 시바쇼 세송도와 배나 예전 말하자바 가래서 따로 미는 돈주 되는 생지어서 알라 제도 미는 예배촌 되는 생지어서 렌친 때를 세송도와 되는 따지당 자완 통야된 돈주 짤지당 아니 자라디 아니 예빈초 자드네 바 예빈초 되는 생일인지 데르스 So I think today also we covered 6 stanzas here and we're finishing a little early today but you know, as we mentioned in the email, that if you have any questions on what we have covered in the last 3 sections, and then the next section at the end, I will try to answer your questions. So if you can, you know, send us by email your questions, and I will go through and I will try to answer next time. So what I wanted you to do is that this prayer is very profound, very extensive, profound. Maybe it is not so difficult to intellectually understand, but it's very difficult to practice. As I mentioned last time, this prayer is, you know, include every aspect of the path, every levels of the path to enlightenment. So I wanted you to go through over and over if you get chance, if you get time, and then if you have any doubts or questions, you can write it down and email to and then I will read it and try to answer you next time. Thank you very much and see you next time. Jiba nyamba me baye goni